It's Wednesday. We're live. Magic City, Birmingham. Touchdown Alabama Magazine, in my own words, is the name giving you your Crimson Tide football news, notes, information, and entertainment is the game. Yours truly, Stephen M. Smith, rocking and rolling right here with you. If you haven't done so already, go ahead, give a thumbs up on the show, like the show, hit that subscribe button, turn all of those notifications on, hit that bell to make sure you're up to date on everything in conversation with your Crimson Tide. Also, we're streaming to you the show on Facebook and Twitter as well. All forms of social media, keeping you updated. No excuse whatsoever for you not to be locked on to the number one ticket for Alabama football. Got a lot to get to today. Fall camp next week, people. Get ready. If you ain't ready yet, get ready. Fall camp, pads popping, helmets flying, plays being made, Nick Saban yelling at folks, throwing straw hats and whatnot, freshly cut grass. It all returns next week to the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Football back in session. Got to shout out my man John Ivory one time in the production studios on the ones and twos doing his thing. We want to hear from you tonight, the Alabama football fans, and you can do this by calling 205-448-1358. That's the number right there to let your voice be heard on the show, 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. Want to hear from you guys. We got NFL training camp starting right now, so big shouts out to Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, Jalen Waddle, all the former Bama guys in the NFL going through these training camps. Looking forward to seeing what they do. Got to give a shout out to Haley McClenny, Alabama softball legend, helping the U.S. softball team medal. They got the silver medal in the Tokyo Olympics, so close to the gold, but McClenny, legendary for Bama softball, helping the U.S. Team there for softball get that silver medal. And also, got to shout out Alabama men's basketball right now. How about Nate Oates? He did a great job of recruiting Kyra Lewis Jr. out of the transfer portal back to Alabama. He recruited John Petty, well, not out of the transfer portal, out of the NBA, draft thing, back to Alabama. He recruited John Petty Jr. out of the NBA draft thing back to Alabama, and he has done with Jaden Shackelford, recruiting him from the transfer portal back to Alabama. Shackelford, who was the team's leading scorer last year, averaged 14.9 points per game. If I'm quoting that stat correctly, he is back with the Tide. So Alabama's got Jaden Shackelford back, Javon Quinterly back, and now you got the high riser and J.D. Davidson. Bama men's basketball going to be an outstanding season, but that's just that right there. Gotta shout out the man, Jimmy Clay, getting us started off correctly with that $50 donation in the Super Chats. Appreciate the love from Jimmy Cash Clay. As always, that daily Super Chat go, $75. Daily Super Chat go, $75. Appreciate the love there from each and every last one of you. Got a big show tonight. So we're going to jump right into the first topic of conversation, and that is one Malachi Moore, Alabama sophomore defensive back. The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, it released the preseason candidates for the Jim Thorpe Award. The award goes to the best defensive back in college football. Malachi's name was not on this list. Josh Job's name was on there, and I'm happy for Job, proud of Job. I think he's going to have a very strong season. Jordan Battle's name was on this list. Happy for Battle, proud of Battle, think he's going to have a strong season. But Malachi Moore's name was not on this list. And I'm not saying that he had any added motivation to go off this year at the nickel slot corner star position, but the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame have just given Moore the little bit more gas in his tank to really set him off and really set him up for a big-time year, because this was the award watch list that Moore really wanted. I mean, I get it. First team All-SEC preseason, that's a big deal. He made the Bronco Nagurski Award watch list. That's a big deal. He was He made a few of these preseason, All-American teams. That's a big deal. But when you talk about the defensive back position, what they want more than anything is to have their name on the Jim Thorpe Award watch list. Like I mentioned, this solidifies best defensive back in college football. Malachi not named on this list. Big motivation for this guy, because when you look at just what he did last season, Malachi had a very impressive freshman year. We're looking at a brother that had 3 interceptions, which led the team. He had 6 pass breakups, which was among the team leaders. This was a guy that was freshman All-SEC, freshman All-American, second team All-SEC. Did a lot of big things a season ago. Moore did, and he was not an early enrollee due to the issues there, with COVID going on and not having a spring practice, that ordeal, that situation right there. But bigger than what he did last year was, think about this. Prior to the start of a 2020 season, Malachi Moore was arguably the most least discussed, the most least talked about defensive freshman for 2020. When you look at the guys that garnered so much conversation last year, Will Anderson Jr. came in with a lot of conversation. People were like, oh my gracious, this is Tim Williams. This is the next big pass rusher. This is the next big thing. Holy cow. Do you see the speed, the burst, the ferocity, the athleticism? Are you watching this? Are you not watching what I'm watching? This Will Anderson cat, get the heck out of here. Man, this guy's going to be a freaking rock star. He's going to be outstanding. Will got a ton of conversation. Then behind him, you have folks that gave Drew Sanders a ton of conversation. It was, Will Anderson, that guy going to be the truth. But Drew Sanders, this kid from Texas, watch him too. He big time too. He big pimping also. He game recognized game too. You better keep your eyes on Drew Sanders. Drew Sanders got conversation. And then Tim Smith. Folks was like, man, this big dude from Florida, Tim Smith, 6'4", 320, this is the next Christian Barmore. This is the next Quinnen Williams. This is the next Deron Payne. Are you seeing this cat? People are talking Tim Smith. And then you had folks talking Brian Branch. They were like, this dude is the next Minkah Fitzpatrick. Brian Branch, highlight safety. All-American type safety, Jim Thorpe Award type safety, like this. This is the guy right here, Brian Branch. All 4 of those guys, Anderson, Sanders, Smith, and Branch, got all the conversation. When you look at freshmen, defensive players in 2020 prior to the start of last season. But despite how talented those guys are, and a lot of those guys make big plays last year, don't get me wrong. Will Anderson was a showstopper last year. Tim Smith made big contributions last year. Brian Branch, he had 2 picks last year and 7 pass breakups. But of all of those guys, I think you, as the Alabama football fans, you looked at 13. You looked at Malachi Moore had the most impressive season. All those guys did good. But when you're just saying who had the most impressive season, who got your attention, who stole your heart and left, Malachi Moore got your attention, was the most impressive, stole your heart, and ran with it. That's what that young man did this past season. And just when you look at the Thorpe Award for just a second here, the guy that Malachi is the most compared to is Minkah Fitzpatrick. People say he's baby Minkah. Instincts like Minkah, IQ like Minkah, competitiveness like Minkah, focus like Minkah. Malachi gets compared an awful lot to Fitzpatrick, and you can see a lot of those similarities there when you watch the tape. Now, Minkah won the Thorpe in 2017 and had a huge year that season for the Crimson Tide, anchoring that defensive secondary, helping that group get to the college football playoff and win the national championship. So Minkah won the Thorpe in 17. Malachi is going all after this award this upcoming season, and I feel like him being snubbed early on, he's going to go off. I know I mentioned before, he could have, definitely 1 pick six. I potentially see 2 pick sixes from Malachi. He could get 2. Moore could get 2 pick sixes. And going back to, remember when I mentioned that, on Josh Jobe, would he be, the MVP of the Alabama defensive secondary, and I said he would be good, but not the MVP of the secondary. This is the reason why. Job is on the Thorpe Award preseason list. Jordan Battle's on there. Malachi Moore is not. This is that hunger for him. This is that hunger to push more, to push harder, to push faster, to push more efficiently, to push more effectively. This dude is going full after that award, and I would not be surprised if by mid-season the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame have Malachi as a mid-season add-on for the Thorpe Honor. But I thought it was just crazy. And I know a lot of you as fans, you say, well, Alabama can't have every guy named to every preseason award watch list. I get that. I understand that. You can't have every Alabama player named. Absolutely. But when you look at these preseason watch lists, they're based off of two things, right? Projection/potential and the body of work leading up to this point. So projection/potential, what we think you can do, what we project you to do in the upcoming season. And then behind that, the body of work, like what have you done at your respective position for your team and in college football leading up to this point. So you can't tell me with the projection and potential that Malachi Moore has, everybody comparing him to Minka Fitzpatrick, and what he did last year, led his team 3 interceptions, among the team leaders, pass breakups, among the team leaders, total tackles. He had one of Alabama's 4 defensive touchdowns a season ago, forcing a fumble against Tennessee, recovering that fumble, taking it back to the crib for a 28-yard touchdown. Malachi did all of these things as far as the body of work goes a season ago. So you can't tell me with his projection, his potential, and with that body of work, he should not have been on the Jim Thorpe Award preseason watch, because he absolutely should have been on there. But I feel like this right here motivates him, pushes him, drives him, eats at him, and is going to make him be a serious force to be reckoned with here in the upcoming season. But folks, we take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial, just getting started. Upon our return, we go to the phone lines to engage you, the Bama Nation. We take your calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your opinions. We talk to you right after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up. Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
Back into the action here, folks, from the break of a number one form for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. It appears that Jimmy Batman Clay, has decided to handle the daily Super Chat goal himself as he drops in a $25 donation, joining his $50 donation. The $75 Super Chat goal has been met. Appreciate the love there coming from our own Jimmy Clay on the show. And of course, you got to appreciate the fans that care about you. Apparently, the fans, I think one of the guys in the chat line there, John, was like, Steven, I love the energy, but man, you are about to pop a blood vessel. I'm okay. I'm good. Not about to pop a blood vessel. Appreciate the love and the support coming from you guys, the fans. Just naturally excited here for Crimson Tide football, especially with fall camp coming in here next week. But we're back in from the break here to take your calls. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. Number to call in to let your voice be heard on the show, 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. Want to hear from you guys. Before we as you guys are getting your thoughts together, and before we get into this quick topic here, cool thing for the Washington football team as Jonathan Allen has signed a 4-year extension worth $72 million, $30 million of that guarantees. So Washington taking care of the former Bama legend right there, and Jonathan Allen. But get into the cool topic. How about the Crimson Tide football program giving back to the community? On yesterday, I was in Tuscaloosa, Habitat for Humanity, Nick's Kids Foundation. They were able to give away our bill, put up the 18th home, representing 18 national championships. The 18th home is going to one Jocelyn Hamner. So Miss Jocelyn Hamner getting the 18th home here. I mean, just beautiful home. You had 12 players that were there at the site helping out. Among those 12 players, you had Brian Robinson there, Evan Neal there, Phil Mathis there, John Mechie, Henry To'oto, new Alabama linebacker, Daniel Wright, Kendall Randolph. Just so many players taking time out of their day to show the community how much they love the community, giving back to Tuscaloosa. This is something that Saban and his wife, Miss Terry, that they do that's not talked about enough, that's not in the news enough, that's not in the page clippings enough. As much as Coach Saban loves winning championships, loves producing great athletes, putting those guys in the NFL, bringing in top-ranked signing classes every single year. As much as he loves doing those things, this is an extension from his father, Nick Saban Sr., of whom in his community of West Virginia, he wanted to make sure everybody was well taken care of, and that's how the Nick's Kids Foundation was born, just off that, wanting to make sure every child, every youth, every person in your community that is well taken care of. And Coach Saban has taken that thing from his dad and has blossomed it into something very special. When we take a call right now, you're live on the show. What's going on? Live on the show, Carla. What's going on?
What's going on, Steve?
Doing well in yourself.
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. Hey, I just wanted to call. I wanted to get your thoughts on the upcoming season. What are you thinking the defense is going to look like this year? And what do you think the strong points are going to be as far as from the defense? Do you think it's going to be more so the front seven, or do you think it's going to be the back end of the defense this year?
Good question right there. Appreciate that call there. I expect big things from the defense. I expect a defense that's going to create turnovers, that's going to harass the quarterback, that's going to get stops. I expect the defense that's going to win on third down. It's going to be a much better defense than what it's been in the last 3 years since 2018, although last year's defense did improve as the season progressed. Now, as far as the strengths of this group, I think the strength is going to actually lie in the front seven. The back five, they're great. They're fantastic. But I think the front seven, when you look at your rotating 10 to 12 guys along that defensive front, and then you know what you got there at linebacker with Christian Harris, Henry Toto, Jalen Moody, Chris Allen, Will Anderson. I think that strength is going to lie within the front seven there of the defense, but appreciate that call right there. But just my last thoughts here on Habitat for Humanity. Great job by the players. Great job by Coach Saban, Miss Terry, the entire Nick's Kids Foundation, putting a smile on Miss Jocelyn Hamner's face as she is the recipient of the 18th home of 18 national championships here. But we take a break here on the show. Don't touch that dial, because when we get back, we will sit down with our own Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA, but talk about the latest commitment in the 2022 class, and it's a wide receiver. We'll talk about it after this.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your 4-finger four-finger bling necklace at weownthefourthquarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your four-finger bling necklace right now at weownthefourthquarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
We have rolled back in, folks, from the break of a number one form, number one ticket for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine on a Wednesday hump day, moving you through the week. And we go to the In My Own Words hotline. We pick up the real showstopper, the real superstar, the man that does recruiting better than anybody else in this game, none other than our own Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for TDA. Justin, man, happy to have you back in here. What's going on?
I'm happy to be on, Stephen.
I mean, Justin, this month has been recruiting on steroids for the Crimson Tide throughout the month of July. I think Bama has now picked up its fifth verbal commitment this month of the class of 2022. I think this is the 13th guy overall. Correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, but four-star wide receiver Kobe Prentice from Calera High School here in Alabama, giving that verbal here to the Crimson Tide. So, Justin, when you watch Prentice's tape here, what former Alabama wide receiver does he remind you of? Some people throw out Jalen Waddle, some throw out Devontae Smith, but what former Bama receiver does Kobe in his game does he remind you of?
Well, I think you have to lean more towards that Jalen Waddle type of slot wide receiver because that is the role I predict he will play in Tuscaloosa. Just looking at his size, he stands at 5'10", weighs 170 pounds, and he's really explosive. This is a kid who is going to be able to use his speed in so many different ways. I think one of the more impressive parts of his game is his ability to make moves in tight spaces, his ability to make moves basically in a phone booth type of situation. That is really impressive about his game in terms of the quickness that he brings to the table, along with that speed, that 4.3, 840 speed, which is what he ran at camp in Tuscaloosa last month. So he is another speedy wide receiver Alabama is adding to that room. When you look at the other wide receivers that they have in, like Christian Leary, JoJo Earl, and also looking at guys like Daivu Jones-Bell, he fits that mold of those slot wide receivers Alabama is going to continue to go after. He's also very athletic. This is a kid who has a nice vertical to go along with his game, and I think that puts him right into the conversation of those Jalen Waddle type of wide receivers.
Now, Justin, of course, Alabama continuing to look at this wide receiver position even more in this class. And one guy that the fans would like to see Alabama get and sign, the kid, last name Stewart, at that wide receiver position, the guy out of Texas, very explosive, very big-time playmaker at that position. But who else in your mind do you feel like Alabama is targeting at that spot? Could it get Stewart? If it doesn't get Stewart, is that a detriment? Who is Alabama looking at now with Kobe Prentice's commitment in here?
But they would definitely love to get Stewart. They hosted him for a visit last month. When we look at Stewart, he's one of the more polished wide receivers overall in this 2022 recruiting class in terms of his route running. He's pretty developed and pretty ahead of his peers in terms of what he brings to the table in terms of being just a polished overall wide receiver. So Alabama will be lucky to grab him. They are definitely in the mix. I think they are going to be in the mix for him until the very end. A guy I will pay close attention to is Baron Brown, the four-star wide receiver out of Tennessee, who Nick Saban compared to Devontae Smith, a slim wide receiver with a lot of athleticism, a lot of speed, and I think he brings a lot of physicality to the game, despite not being the strongest guy. But I think he's another wide receiver Alabama is going after who has a lot of speed. He is a very impressive track athlete, and I think he has the full package. And Alabama will be lucky to grab a commitment from him in the future as well.
If you're just tuning into the show, ladies and gentlemen, on a Wednesday, we got Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine, on the phone lines right here in my own words, Touchdown Alabama Magazine here. Justin, so I remember talking to you prior to coming on here. There's an opportunity for Alabama to possibly end this month with a sixth verbal commitment. Who could be the sixth guy that Alabama would end this month with? Who's next here on the pipeline, in your opinion, to hand that verbal to the Crimson Tide?
Well, I think basically the only guy I feel who is in contention at the moment is Dane Shore, the three-star offensive lineman out of Georgia, who is set to announce his commitment on July 31st. Alabama looks to be in a very strong position with him. He officially visited Tuscaloosa last month, got an opportunity to interact with multiple coaches on Alabama's coaching staff, said it was a different feel, just getting an opportunity to see them in person compared to connecting with them via Zoom calls because of the COVID-19 global pandemic in the past. So he is the prospect I will keep my eyes on. But as we transition to the fall, I think we are going to see some more development start to happen as more guys get on campus for visits, for game visits, for practice visits. I think that will give a lot of guys possibly the nail in the coffin in terms of them committing to Alabama in the future, because a visit on a game, there's nothing like that particular visit.
As always, we appreciate our own Justin Smith, scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama Magazine, coming on here giving us the lowdown on the trail as Alabama picked up commitment from four-star wide receiver Kobe Prentice out of Calera High School here in Alabama. The fifth verbal commitment for the month of July, the 13th verbal commitment overall, as Alabama continuing to make headway here throughout the summer. Justin, as always, man, we appreciate you coming on. Stay safe, man. Take care of yourself, my man.
You do the same, Steven.
Always enjoy getting a chance to speak with Justin on all things recruiting as he continues his recruiting trail, visiting these guys, scouting out these athletes. If you haven't done so, you got to check out his show, The Process, here on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday as Justin breaks down all the recruits and the high ones that Bama is targeting on Bama's board from across the college football landscape here. We go to another break on the show. Don't touch that dial. When we get back, we return to the phone lines to take your calls, your thoughts, your conversations, your opinions right after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit weownthefourthquarter.com now to get your four-finger bling necklace. You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your four-finger bling necklace at weownthefourthquarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your four-finger bling necklace right now at weownthefourthquarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
All right, people, back in from the break. Are you pumped up? Because next week, fall camp, the return of Bama football. Pants popping, helmets going, pigskin flying, Nick Saban doing his thing. Fall camp returns next Friday. University of Alabama getting a chance to see some action on the field. I am juiced up, jacked up, ready to go for this fall camp. Gotta shout out Mechanic right now. Mechanic, that $25 donation in the Super Chats. Appreciate the love from Mechanic, helping us out here on the show, and all of you for chatting in, writing in, calling in, donating in, helping us out here on a Wednesday. But as we're back in from the break, call segment right now brought to you by the Blue Wrench Game. Phone lines open, 205-448-1358. And I'm going to call in, 205-448-1358. We grab a call right now. You're live on the show. What's going on?
Hey, Steven, this is Mike from Kentucky. How you doing, brother?
Big man Mike, what's going on, man?
Man, I really enjoyed Justin's commentary. That young man keeps a finger on the pulse of Alabama football, and I really appreciate listening to him. He keeps me well informed. It's great to see young minds like that with an interest in college football.
Absolutely. I mean, Justin, nobody better out there than Justin. He's out there. Whenever you see Alabama football recruits, Mike, just know Justin Smith is not too far behind. He's right there.
Yeah, amen for that. Yeah, what do you think about the skinny cow and the covered wagon joining the conference?
Texas and Oklahoma. Texas, everybody's got different opinions on this. I mean, I'm cool with it. It's just going to add more competition to the conference, and it's going to you're going to be able to test how tough is Texas or how tough are Texas and Oklahoma being within the conference. So I'm cool with it. I'm fine with it. Bring it on. I mean, more teams, more matchups, more conversation. I'm cool with it.
I feel the same way, but there's one thing that rubs me the wrong way. I don't think Auburn and Alabama have to move over for nobody. You know what I'm saying? Here's what I would do. I would put Oklahoma in the East, so the East would have a good team with a good coach, and I'd put Texas in the West because Texas A&M is scared to death of them. They know they're second banana in the state of Texas. What do you think, Stephen?
I actually like that because if you put Oklahoma in the East, now you would actually have some competition with Georgia because Florida is sometime at points, South Carolina up and down. So if you put Oklahoma in the East, you would give Georgia some competition, and then you could also restore that Texas A&M rivalry. So I like that, Mike. I like that. But I appreciate that coming from Mike from Kentucky. His thoughts there on Oklahoma, Texas joining the SEC as they've made it known to the Big 12 officials they're leaving that conference. But we got a cool topic here to get to, and cool topic goes to Will Reichert. The field goal kicker, Will Reichert for Alabama. Reichert's been added to, or he's been named to the Lou Groza Award watching list. How about this? After Reichert was snubbed from winning the award this past season after having a perfect year, by the way, Reichert making all 14 field goals, all 84 extra point attempts, did not win the Groza Award. So now he has been named as a preseason candidate to the list. So it's going to be nice to see what Reichert does here as a junior. Now, does he go perfect again on field goals? We'll see. We're not asking him. It's not a requirement to go perfect, but if he does go perfect again, I mean, that would just be fantastic, especially after the poetry in motion that we saw in 2020, not having to go through all the situations and circumstances. Once the kicker goes up, then you're not groaning, oh, God, here comes the kicker. We already know he's going to miss. Let's go ahead and get this miss over with. We didn't have to deal with that. We were able to see he made every single one, whether they were in high pressure, not high pressure. Did a big-time job right there. So it's going to be fun watching Reichert next season, this upcoming season. We take another call right here. You're live on the show. What's going on?
Stephen, I've been sitting here thinking about it here for the last 2 or 3 days and mulling over it. I still don't like this Texas-Oklahoma thing, but I've been thinking, this boils down to the almighty dollar, I think is what a lot of it has to be, and also recruiting. That Texas A&M has been out recruiting Texas the last several years, well, probably more than several years. But I believe, before it's all said and done, I don't know if you thought about this, but I do believe we'll wind up with 4 conferences all over the United States. We'll have 4, and they'll break it down like the NFL, and I believe that's the way college football is headed. What do you think?
I can see that. I mean, there's been a conversation to have it 4, 4, 4, and 4, which would be the SEC North, South, East, and West. I don't know how they would go about putting the teams in each region. I know for me, I would look at just the West. You would have both Mississippi schools. You would have LSU over there and Texas A&M also. But we'll see how they would divide all that up. But I'm cool with 4, 4, 4, and 4, the North, South, East, and West. That's cool with me.
Yeah, also I was thinking about the whole country. We might wind up with 4 conferences over the whole country. You know, put the teams in 4 conferences. You know, the ACC takes all the northeast. You know, and the southeast is the SEC, and you know, pack out there in the West, California, and all them schools there. But I don't know. Anyway, we'll find out and see. Hello to everybody in the chat. I see everybody out there. Gucci, Jimmy. Let's see who else out there. Kevin, it's good to hear from you. Everybody out there, Mechanic. All y'all looking good. Y'all keeping the show going. TDA appreciates every one of you. I do too. I got to get out of here. I just caught this on the end. Y'all be safe. I'll try to be back Friday. We'll try to get some poems going here. It's football season. Y'all be safe. I'll see y'all Friday. Bye-bye, Stephen.
Appreciate the call that come from our own way and checking in here on a Wednesday. We're going to go to a break right now, folks, but when we get back, we get into the elimination game, the 3-pack of questions discussing your Crimson Tide for this upcoming season. What's on the slate in this portion of elimination? We'll get into it after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to stsfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to stsfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, people, we are tidying up loose ends with the good game of elimination, the 3-pack of questions in discussing this year's Alabama team in full detail. But before we get into that, got to remind you of TDAwear.com. That is TDAwear.com. So for all of you fans still overjoyed with the Tide's national championship, we want you to check out our championship collection merch. Now this means you grab you an 18 of them things, folk, hoodie, t-shirt, or sweatshirt, as well as our Got 18? We Do shirts. Designs that feature all 18 championship years on the back. You head on over to TDAwear.com, do it right now, TDAwear.com. You go over the championship collections merch tab. You get you that gear today, showing that support for Coach Saban, the University of Alabama, the student athletes, and us here at TDA. Definitely appreciate every last one of you guys for checking us out, whether you've been writing in, calling in, chatting in, donating into the show here. But we get into the elimination game, and what's cool about this game is it's a 3-pack of questions as we're diving into this year's Alabama football team. And the questions, they all have answer choices, 4 answer choices each, and we eliminate the ones until we get down to the number 1 answer choice on the list right here. And also, our own John Ivory will be putting in the poll there. So you got the poll there for your answer choices. Whatever answer choice that you feeling, you write your vote in the poll, and we're going to have the poll here, on the screen for you, getting your vote on here for the game of elimination here. So our first thought here as we look at the elimination game, first thought just jumped up on screen. So we got, the most intriguing defensive summer enrollee. The most intriguing defensive summer enrollee for the Crimson Tide. Let's see those answer choices right here. John, we got, for the answer choices, we got Kyrie Jackson, defensive back, JUCO. We've got Dallas Turner at outside linebacker. We've got Terrion Arnold at defensive back. And we have Kendrick Blackshear at linebacker. Most intriguing defensive summer enrollee. Let's start this thing off with Kyrie Jackson, the guy. Nick Saban does not recruit JUCOs just to recruit them. He recruits them because of their experience. He recruits JUCO guys to play those guys on the field, especially, them having the talent, them having the knowledge, them having the wherewithal on the field. And Kyrie Jackson, a 6'3", 6'4" corner, so long, rangy, athletic. He's got big playmaking ability. Going to be awesome to see what he does and how he fares in fall camp. And I like Kyrie Jackson, I really do. But let's kind of slide him off a bit here for right now. We'll kind of slide him off. When we look at Dallas Turner, this guy, pass rusher extraordinaire. He played for two of the best high school programs in Florida. When you talk Heritage High, we talk American Heritage High School, coached by Patrick Surtain, the father of Patrick Surtain II. And then when you look at, he played also at St. Thomas Aquinas High School in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So Dallas Turner, big-time guy, big-time star, big-time potential and ability. I want to keep Dallas on the board for just a minute. We're gonna keep Dallas right here. As we move on to Terrion Arnold, this guy, another Florida native from Tallahassee, Florida, a guy that's he's a ball hawk, he's a ball magnet. So many people look at the way Eddie Jackson played, and they compare a lot of people to Eddie. But when you watch Terrion Arnold's high school tape, this guy is the spitting image of Eddie Jackson. When you look at breaking on the ball, playing the lower third of the field, jumping routes, and the moment his hands get on that ball to pick it off, he knows how to go coast to coast, taking it to the crib for those touchdowns. So Terrion Arnold factor also. Let's keep Terrion there also. So as we move on here now to Kendrick Blackshear, and this is the guy that I've basically said is Reuben Foster's love child to an extent. I mean, big physical freak of nature at 6'2", 240 pounds. Once he gets his hands on you, you're going down. We saw this a lot on his high school tape coming out of Duncanville, Texas. And, the one thing that we want to see will he be able to keep his footwork, keep his speed, keep his lateral quickness in line, and he was able to get that done throughout the summer, working with some private coaches there on that. But as much as I like Kendrick Blackshear, he's going to be competing against a whole bunch of other inside linebackers, so it's going to be kind of difficult for him to see the field straight off on defense early on. So we'll slide Kendrick Blackshear off to the side right now. So that leaves us with Dallas Turner and Terrion Arnold. Dallas Turner, Terrion Arnold, who are you feeling right here? So for the fans, you guys are feeling Kyrie Jackson at 40% of the vote. You guys are feeling Dallas Turner at 30%. So Kyrie 40, Dallas Turner 30. The guy I'm going with here of these two, I'm going with Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold, to me, is the most intriguing defensive summer enrollee. And here's why. First and foremost, Dr. Matt Ray already loving him right now in the offseason program in terms of the speed things, the offseason program. He has really put in a lot of work in this program. Terrion Arnold has. Our own Justin Smith spent a lot of time covering Arnold on the recruiting trail out of Tallahassee. And when you look at just the safety position, right, after Jordan Battle and DeMarco Helms, I mean, Daniel Wright's got some experience, but everybody else is kind of fighting for an opportunity. Terrion Arnold's got a shot here to get some actual playing time in that safety role in the secondary. So Terrion Arnold, to me, most intriguing defensive player just off of the work he's been able to put in this offseason program, and just at that safety spot, there's a chance for him to make some noise there. But we move on here to the next thought in the elimination game, as it's coming up here on screen here, and that would be the most important senior leader. Bama's got a lot of seniors on this team, but who is the most important, the most pivotal, the most crucial senior leader for the Crimson Tide? Our answer choices, as John is putting them on the screen here, we got Chris Owens at center on the offensive line. We've got Fidarian Mathis. We got Chris Allen at outside linebacker. Then we got Fidarian Mathis on the defensive line, and then we have Brian Robinson Jr. at the running back position. So those are our choices there for most important senior leader. So starting this thing off here with Chris Owens, the center position is very key. The center position is highly critical, especially when you look at a young man that you're taking over for Landon Dickerson. That's a mouthful right there. You're taking over for the guy that set the tone, that brought the entire offensive line together. This is the brother of whom shoes you have to fill in and replace. That's a pretty big deal right there. And even when, Dickerson didn't play in the college football playoff against Notre Dame, and he didn't play the majority of the game against Ohio State. Chris Owens stepped in there, fielded admirably, did very well, played very well. We're going to keep Chris Owens here on the board for just a moment here. As we move on to big Chris Allen, leader due to the fact that guy that can rush the passer, guy that can get after the quarterback, guy that can affect the opposing team's offense. And we saw a season ago when he was fully healthy what he did. When he was fully healthy, 13 tackles for loss led the team, 6 sacks among the team leaders, 5 quarterback hurries among the team leaders. We saw when he was healthy, this brother can make it do what it do. He's already on a few of these preseason award watch lists. When you look at the Butkus Award, the Bronco Nagurski Award, Chris Allen is already on these lists. And he came back not only for an opportunity to help lead this defense, but he came back for a shot at, improving that draft stock here for the upcoming 2022 draft venue. But as much as I do like Chris Allen, and I do, we're just going to slide him off here for just a moment. We're going to slide Chris Allen off here. As we look at Fidarian Mathis, everybody's been talking about it. Do we have the defensive line guys that can get after the quarterback? Do we have the defensive line guys? By the way, I'm referring to Alabama football. Does Alabama have the defensive line guys that can stuff the run? Does Alabama have the guys on the defensive line that can make big plays? And Fidarian Mathis, one of the reasons why he came back is to be that guy that can make those plays, is to have that energy, to have that passion, to have that enthusiasm that you, being Alabama, lost with graduating Christian Barmore off to the NFL. This past season, Mathis did some big things. 31 tackles, 4.5, 5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, made big plays, but he's back to be bigger and better as a senior, as a linchpin starter on this defensive front. We're going to actually keep Fidarian Mathis on the board right now. As we look at Brian Robinson Jr., a guy that he's an impact player. He's an impact guy. He's an impact running back. This is somebody of whom has gotten better each and every year that he's been at the program since coming in 2017 as a 4-star from the Tuscaloosa area. This past season had 6 touchdowns, over 400 yards rushing. A guy that's he's going to be the number 1 back in the rotation for this upcoming season. Although he's got some competition behind him with Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams, Trey Sanders, Kamara Wheaton, those guys in that room there. But as much as I like B-Rob, we're going to slide B-Rob off to the side right here, and we're going to have the focus on Chris Owens, and Fidarian Mathis. So we're going to look at what you guys got. You guys had Chris Allen at 35%. You guys had Chris Owens not far behind at 29%, and Phil and B-Rob are both tied at 18%. So I appreciate you guys interacting there with the poll on screen there. So as we look at Chris Allen and Phil Mathis here, my answer for this, give me Chris Owens. Give me Chris Owens, Alabama offensive lineman Chris Owens, the most important senior on this team, and the reason why he's playing the center position. He has got to call out the blocking schemes. He has got to keep this group together. He has got to protect Bryce Young, first-year starting quarterback. He's got to get the run game started up front with making sure everybody's got a hat on a hat, driving guys off the football, and he's got to have that nastiness that Dickerson had. Yes, Chris Owens, he's got the IQ, he's got the high football intelligence, he's got the experience, he's played everywhere on the offensive line. But this season, when you talk about having some new faces here, some new pieces here on this offense, when you have a veteran guy like a Chris Owens, he's got to have that dog. He's got to have that physicality. He's got to have that toughness up front, and not only protecting Bryce Young, but getting that run game started early, often on the right foot. Chris Owens, my most impactful, most important senior for Alabama for this season. And the last thought here in this game of elimination, 3-pack of questions here, talking your Crimson Tide, as the thought has popped up on screen here. Bama's next elite pass rusher, the next elite edge rusher for the Crimson Tide. And the answer choices are as follows. We've got here Drew Sanders, outside linebacker, Tim Smith, defensive line, Chris Braswell, outside linebacker, and SpongeBob? SpongeBob is here. SpongeBob SquarePants has made his appearance for the Crimson Tide. So SpongeBob is in the building right now. So we're going to start this off here with Drew Sanders. And Drew, as I mentioned in the first segment and talking about Malachi Moore, Drew Sanders was one of the most talked about defensive freshmen when he came in 2020. Everybody was excited about Sanders. They want to see what Sanders can do. They're thrilled about this young man's size, strength, speed, athleticism, pass rush abilities coming from the Texas area. And I, for one myself, very excited to see what Drew Sanders is going to be able to put here on the table, going to be able to put here on the field. But we're going to slide Drew Sanders off for just a moment here. As we now look at Tim Smith, big Tim Smith, and I like this dude. When we saw him last year, he made plays. When we saw him last year, he got after the quarterback. When we saw him last year, he forced fumbles. He recovered fumbles, even though he was not in all the time due to COVID and having the conference-only schedule. When we watch Big 50 on the field, he made his presence felt on the field, and he's going to make his presence felt on the field this year. But we're just going to slide big Tim Smith off for just a moment here also. As we look at now Chris Braswell, this is the guy. Going back to the spring game, Coach Saban, and I directed Coach Saban the question about Braswell after the A-Day game, where he had 5 tackles, 3 of those for loss, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble that Jalen Moody recovered for a touchdown. Coach Saban said, this is a guy we got to create a role for. We got to have him on the field. We got to put him out there. Edge rushing extraordinaire, edge rushing specialist, Chris Braswell. Got to have him out there. So we're going to keep Chris Braswell on the board here. And SpongeBob. SpongeBob, he annoys Squidward. He annoys Mr. Krabs. He gets after Plankton when Plankton is trying to steal the Krabby Patty formula. He annoys Mrs. Puff every time he's trying to pass that driver's test for boarding school, though he did pass that test in one episode, if I'm not mistaken. So SpongeBob can be a little bit of a nuisance. He can be an agitator. He can get after, some guys when it comes down to, you're not taking that Krabby Patty formula out of my dick. You got to pry that from my hand. So SpongeBob, he a goon. SpongeBob, he can do his thing. So we're gonna keep SpongeBob here for right now. So we're looking at Chris Braswell and SpongeBob here, as we're gonna look at here what you, the fans, think the next elite pass rusher. 39% of you said Tim Smith. 28% of you said Chris Braswell. 28% of you said Drew Sanders. And even SpongeBob got love. SpongeBob at 6% of the vote for the next elite Bama pass rusher. Well, folks, I'm going to go Chris Braswell. Definitely not going SpongeBob. I'm going Chris Braswell with my answer. Next elite Bama pass rusher. And this is not saying that Drew Sanders is not going to be good, because he is and he will be. I'm just saying, after watching the spring game and watching Braswell come off the edge and affect Bryce Young in the pocket and to touch him down for those sacks and to force that fumble that Jalen Moody recorded for a score for the first team defense, that was big action right there. And you got to think, after, Chris Allen departs from Bama to the NFL draft after the season. You got to understand, or you want to know, who's next in line at that edge rusher position. Chris Braswell is that guy that's next in line because of his ability to bend, to move, to change, to come off the ball, and to create that havoc at the mesh point, the strength to fight off the offensive lineman, but also the speed and the pass rush moves to affect the opposing quarterback there in the pocket. Going with Chris Braswell there, Bama's next elite pass rusher. But folks, it's fun right there. The latest game of Elimination, 3-pack of questions talking about your Crimson Tide for this upcoming season. Having some fun with that. As all, gotta shout out Randy Harris before we conclude. Randy Harris, that $15 donation in the Super Chats, helping us out on the show. Appreciate the love they're coming from Randy Harris. But as always, Tide Nation, you want the best in news, notes, and material here on your favorite program, that being Alabama football. You can access this by getting the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you got the Android phone. For your audio listening needs, we got you right here, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Google Play, Overcast.fm, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, got you covered. If the good and gracious Lord sees fit, I'll be back on Friday continuing the conversation that is Bama football. Don't forget, Tide fans, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Have those sent to your door. That link will be found in the description. Also, if you're trying to get you that fresh edition, print edition of TDA, the magazine, you can get that by going to toucdownalabama.com and click join. Become a member, a subscriber today. That link in the description. And if you're also trying to get that 4-finger bling necklace, 4-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of our guys at weownthefourthquarter.com. That's weownthefourthquarter.com. That link is in the description as well. But until next time, folks, husbands love you, wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children continue doing the right thing, fun thing, smart thing, good thing, legitimate thing, to not be bored. You get you those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. As always, protect yourself, protect the loved ones around you. Until next time, folks, spit in my own words.